There's so many.
So we.
Go ahead.
Welcome to Back to the Father, a show about the journey of life focused on our final end, which is God Himself, our loving Father. And now, here's your host, Dave Palmer.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Back to the Father. Sorry about that sneeze there. That was kind of rude to sneeze in your face. But, hey, that's just... I had to sneeze and my mic was on, so there you go. Welcome, everybody. It is today's the 17th of November, 2023. We are exactly 6 days before Thanksgiving. And if you're like me and Sissel and William and James, you're really excited about next week. And so we thought that we would, on this program, talk about a topic that is related to Thanksgiving, and that is Thanksgiving. Okay. Thanksgiving, gratitude, ingratitude. And what did St. Thomas Aquinas have to say? I feel like there's somebody right next to me. I just get this feeling like there's a presence, like a, okay, was my mic? Okay. Sorry about that. See, a few technical issues here as we get started, but so Thomas does talk about gratitude, ingratitude, and thankfulness, and I thought that would be a very appropriate topic to talk about as we are all geared up for Thanksgiving anyways. So thanks for joining us. As always, we want to hear your comments, your thoughts. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, I can't get to say X. I just can't get myself to say X, so I still say Twitter.
Facebook, YouTube, X.
I know.
It's just not
right. It sounds kind of weird because X is like deleting something, and it just doesn't sound right, okay? So...
Also, it sounds like you're talking about your ex constantly.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Did you see my ex last night?
Yeah, you don't even have an ex.
Yeah.
You guys don't have
an ex. Yeah. Wow.
And
all right,
all your exes
it.
do not live in Texas, right? There's nothing great about having exes. But anyway, so we're glad you're with us. It's a joyful time. It's Friday. We're going into a fun week of Thanksgiving. I think most people are off at least next Thursday and Friday. So join us and talk, and let's talk about this. There's a lot of topics related to this that will, I hopefully stir up some conversation. And so with no further ado, let me introduce my in-studio co-hosts, who are Sissel Anderson and William Kirkendall. How are y'all doing? Good to see you.
Good.
Doing pretty well, yeah.
Yeah, y'all jazzed up. We were just talking about this. You're hosting Thanksgiving.
I am hosting Thanksgiving.
William's going to his aunt and uncles, and I'm going to my sister's. Not sure what James is doing. What is James doing for Thanksgiving?
For Thanksgiving, I'm probably just going to have Thanksgiving with my family.
That's
yeah.
nice.
All right. That's good enough. I always feel bad for people that don't have anything to do for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well, growing up, that was my mom's biggest thing, is that she would try to find people at our church or in our community that didn't have a place to go for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And all holidays, really, to have them over. And that honestly
imagine
made
just
it fun.
sitting around your house.
That's just miserable.
Yeah.
I have friends who are working really long shifts that day because they work in the medical field and things, and they're going to just come home. And it's just so sad to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure that doesn't happen.
And I mean, my sister always hosts Thanksgiving, so it's kind of hard to say, hey, by the way, we're bringing the family and 4 people who I know.
You have to be the one hosting to actually do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anyways, let us know what your traditions are, what you're doing, and the whole thing with Thanksgiving and gratitude and ingratitude. It seems so just like, of course, you should be gracious, you should be grateful, you shouldn't be have ingratitude, but I think it's a big problem, especially in the wealthier countries like the United States. Yep. Wouldn't you agree that ingratitude probably is like on a scale of the wealthier a country is, the greater degree of ingratitude, which is ironic. The more you have, generally the less grateful you probably are, right?
So true. So true.
And also, I think there's a great connection between gratitude and happiness. And so maybe in this just kind of divine justice, the people who have a lot and think that they are so advantaged and privileged are actually less happy. And they're less grateful, they're less thankful, and ultimately they're not as happy as the people who have very little. So it's interesting how that all works. All right, so the questions that Thomas asks, these are not all of them, but that we'll kind of go over, is he asks whether thankfulness is whether thankfulness is a special virtue distinct from other virtues.
Oh.
And that's kind of easy, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you don't think it's like lumped in with all the other virtues? I mean, what's special?
I don't know.
What's special about Thanksgiving as a virtue? Did you know it was a virtue? You did, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that it is. I don't know if I actually knew that was officially a virtue.
It, right?
Yeah.
All right. Is a man bound to give thanks to every benefactor? Okay. So when somebody does something to you, are you bound to give thanks? Okay.
I'd say so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
think so?
I think
you got to
so.
say thank you to everything. I mean,
Well, most things.
yeah.
Things,
It's like, when you're driving, do you drive, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So
yeah,
you're
sometimes.
driving and you let somebody in,
Yeah.
and they
Do
pull
a
in
little.
front of you. Do you feel a little bit of indignation if they don't at least kind of give you a little wave or something?
I've
I
actually
mean,
never had that happen yet.
You've never let anybody in?
He just doesn't let people in, so that's how he does it.
yet. No.
No, I mean there's kind of that expectation.
Right.
You hold the door open for somebody. You can kind of expect,
Yeah.
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, well,
so,
I do that all the time. So yes, I do get
Yeah,
that. Thank
yeah.
you a lot. Yeah.
Scott Rogie says, Dr. Grandy's Guide to Happy Thanksgiving Day Gathering. Lower your expectations, and it works with driving too.
Damn.
That's
Yeah,
true. I
that's
do
true.
expect absolutely no one to do anything.
Yeah.
I don't even expect them to stay in the right lane.
Now, if somebody let you into traffic and you're in front of them,
I always try to do
the
now,
little wave.
I will say it's sometimes very awkward because I feel like some of the routes I take, that it gets very sticky in there, and so it's kind of awkward. And you're like, I don't know if they actually saw my way, but I do the little.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had an issue just in the last week or two where, we were given a Christmas bonus by the leadership team of the Guadalupe Radio Network. Unfortunately, the interns don't get bonuses, so I'm sorry.
That's
But
unfortunate,
check your
but-
email. You
You
never,
get
you
more
never
chocolate
know.
from my
okay?
office. Yeah.
That's true.
That's your
Yes,
bonus,
that's his
right?
bonus.
And there was conversations about, do you send an email saying thank you? And I think most people would say, yeah, you should. I mean, it's appropriate to just thank people for that. All right. Now this is an interesting one. Whether a man is bound to repay a favor at once. Meaning, do you have
we've
to?
talked about this before.
Yeah,
Do you have to
we
like
have.
do it right
have,
away?
okay. Have
Or
we
you
just
to-
covered the whole Summa? Because every time I pick a topic, you guys.
we might have at this point.
Yeah, I've covered the whole thing.
We are
right?
geniuses.
Oh, well, let me
now.
ask James because he does. You guys probably don't remember what Thomas says about this. Do you have to
at
suggest?
once?
So
I think he said no,
why not?
because it's not always the practicality / the person doesn't always
Right.
want that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't
would,
remember if that's what he said, but I remember we had this discussion. I don't remember if that's what
Yes.
he said or if that's what we said.
Did we do this topic last year
Thanksgiving,
before
potentially?
Thanksgiving?
Oh, really?
I think we did.
It's so funny because as I was getting my trivia,
Oh,
I started thinking, I think I'm doing the exact same thing
Probably
again.
from last year. Yep.
Yeah.
Probably
Well, hopefully everyone watching has just as short-term memory loss as we do.
Now, let me take this opportunity, and it's kind of related, kind of not. But have you ever heard? And it's tied in. Okay, so just hang with me here. Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher of the 19th century, he had a belief called eternal recurrence. Okay, have you? Okay, so we didn't talk about this last Thanksgiving.
No.
Nope.
And it's interesting because he was an atheist. Okay, so psychoanalyzed Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, what he thought was that we live our lives, we do the best we can for the best results, and then when we die, we will literally relive that life again and again and again. And you keep reliving the exact same life.
You mean
So
like that's what we do like in heaven?
no, he didn't believe in heaven.
that's right. So he was just saying-
this
it was
is
kind
a
of like-
eternal recurrence.
So he's kind of talking about reincarnation, but you're reincarnating like it's the same.
So yeah,
the same
So we're
thing.
going to relive
Is that why we have deja vu?
Because
Is that what
I
it
don't
is?
believe this, but Friedrich Nietzsche would say this exact conversation that we're having right now with James over there.
It
and
does
William
feel
and
like
you,
deja vu.
Is that we will experience this again. Okay, we're gonna and again and again and again. So you keep reliving.
Don't I get a chance to do something different? Like,
No.
if I'm going to reincarnate, can I do something a little different?
But because Friedrich Nietzsche, being an atheist and a humanist and an existentialist and a whole lot of other ists, was like, this is all you got. So you got to make it count. And in order, because that's kind of like, okay, I don't believe in heaven. You know, I do, but Nietzsche thinking. So I'm going to create almost like an eternity, but an eternal recurrence. Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting.
That
actually,
sounds really depressing.
See, now that's interesting. You would say depressing because most people, you guys are young and James is young, but like you could talk to somebody in their 70s or your parents are in their 70s, but in their 50s and say, would you like to relive your life? Like if you could,
like over and over again.
No, just kick yourself back to 5 years old.
Okay, yeah.
And I could even ask you all this because, teenager, 20s. If you could go back and you're 3 years old again and you're going to relive every moment again, would you do it?
Not every moment.
Do we have the knowledge of what happens, or are we just going back and starting and doing the exact same thing we just did?
You just have to relive it. Kind of
No,
like
I don't want
Nietzsche.
to go back.
No,
See,
I don't.
Because-
Isn't that interesting? So that means life is unhappy. I mean, because why wouldn't you want to relive it again? Like if you went on a roller coaster at the Six Flags and somebody said, "Oh, well, you want to do that again?" No,
the natural
no.
even though like childhood, obviously there's like a lot of beautiful things, and I have a lot of great memories from childhood. I feel like I'm working now. When I was 3 years old, my family wasn't practicing Christians, so now I actually am aware of who God is, and I'm actually actively trying to become like how He wants me to.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be moving forward than starting back all over again.
But 25 years from now, you'll catch back up and you'll have a chance to do it again. I mean, then you'll
But
catch up.
there were some moments I probably don't want to relive.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to have
Okay.
to go through,
So
a
does
lot
that-
of things.
Does that mean life has more unhappiness than happiness? Because
Well, now you're making me sound like I'm a very unhappy person. I'm not.
but I think, what would you say, James? Would you want to relive? I'll throw you back to 3 years old, and this is a big departure from thankfulness. But I don't know. Maybe
James
maybe
is
it's not.
because we said we
We'll
think
tie
we've
it
done
back
this
in.
before. We'll bring it back.
No, it's all based. No, would you want to go back to 3 years old and live your whole life again, and not have a chance to change it, but just experience it again?
Honestly, no, because I think God has a better plan for us.
Then just going back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
Okay. All
And
right.
so
Boy,
Scott-
he brought some.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Scott's
good
saying,
answer.
does he give a possibility that we can do things different and get it right eventually? And I think the idea is no. We're
No,
just doing the exact same thing.
Nietzsche's eternal recurrence
See,
is
that's the thing
not.
is,
you
like,
got to
I don't
relive the
know.
exact same thing
If
over
I'm
and
gonna
over.
do this, like, I'd rather just, like I said, if this was like the plan that God had for us is to keep reliving or reincarnating, which is not, by the way. But like, if that was the case, I'd want to be a new person with new problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to keep coming back with the same problems. Can I get a break and get something new?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
It's got to be the same.
I don't
It's
know.
interesting you bring this up because Rod Serling, who created the Twilight Zone series in the 60s,
Yeah,
there are at least two
Yo,
episodes.
there's so
where
many
characters
episodes
are
like
going
that.
through the-
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
And they made a movie back in like the 90s where the old people doing Kick the Can. Do you remember that? Have you seen that?
Yep.
I have.
Yeah, it was like a bunch of old people, and what they did was they wanted to relive.
I've seen that
their
episode.
childhood. So they got these people are like in their 80s.
Yes.
So they went out and they were playing Kick the Can like they did when they were kids, and all of a sudden, and I don't remember the exact plot, but I think that they were given the opportunity to actually go back, and they all said no.
Yeah.
They would rather reenact their childhood as old people, but you're thinking like, but you're in your 80s, you're probably not going to live much
Right.
longer. And they didn't want to do
Oh,
it.
why would you, like, it's one of those things where you do, because again, especially if you're not changing anything, like especially if you're not changing anything, that's just weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, going back to eternal recurrence with Nietzsche, he put all of his eggs in this temporal basket, but I think it shows that he doesn't really want to die. He wants something to keep going.
Yeah.
Even if it's the same exact.
By the way,
life
Forrest
being-
also says never. He wouldn't want to. Also, and Scott says, Ayan Hirsi Ali became Christian because atheism is too negative.
Yeah. Interesting. So, all right. So that's okay. Now this is interesting. Whether the repayment of gratitude should surpass the favor received. So when you receive something, should you give more back
Do you
than
return
what
like
you
double what
received?
you got? Yeah.
Go further, yeah.
Yeah. So you now your last comment may put me on a 10-minute talk about eternal
Sorry. Well,
recurrence.
here
And
we
so
go.
Since we did this a year ago, certainly you
Sorry,
remember.
guys.
Remember next
I think
Thanksgiving, not to
I
do
do
the
remember
low
we
hanging
did-
fruit, right?
Hey, remember I did throw out one, but an idea for next year. We got to remember that. But I feel like Thomas did say that you should do at least equal or more, right?
I think
he
so.
did. Although
I think so.
I think there are some things that are just never going to be practical on that. There are some things that you're like, someone saved your life, you can't save their life and more.
Like how
Yeah.
far can you
Yeah,
go?
I'll save your life and your dog's life and your child's life.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
it's kind of.
Yeah. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
not always realistic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but then it's funny because, and this is a little bit of a departure, but Thomas would say that usury is a sin.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I give you $100 and you have to repay me 110, I guess maybe he's saying if I give you 100, you should give me 110, but I can't force it because forcing
Yeah.
it would be usury, right? And
Right.
usury back at that time was immoral. Nowadays,
Right.
it's like the standard. I mean, every bank charges usury, right?
Right.
So, anyways. I'm going off on a lot of tangents.
I feel like we do that a lot on this show, actually.
Okay, is that because we've done this before, right?
should be the Thomas
this is the
St.
eternal
Thomas
recurrence.
tangent.
In fact, here's a little secret. This is just last year's show, everybody. Okay, we're not actually.
We're reliving it.
We're reliving the
And
show.
it's exactly as it was last year, except for the set's a little different.
Is ingratitude always a sin? Where in the Bible does it talk about ingratitude? Okay.
Somewhere, I'm
Second
sure.
test. Good answer, William. I'm so impressed. 2 Timothy 3:2. It talks about disobedience to parents, ungrateful, wicked, and so ungratefulness is listed as a sin. Whether ingratitude is a special sin.
Like a special category of sin or
Yeah,
something.
right. Whether ingratitude is always a mortal sin. Okay.
Always an immortal.
Always
sin.
a mortal sin. Okay.
Well, we got to think. Are we actually discussing
Okay.
that, or are we just are we going past?
We're kind of just going through the topics right now, but that's not to say you talk about Manny.
I just saw Manny walk
Dude,
by.
Manny's and
Manny's
also
little appearance.
whether favors should be withheld from the ungrateful.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Interesting. Okay.
I know, and I'm positive I said this last year, but you guys probably don't remember. But there was a lady, actually it was Dana Nygaard, who's
Okay.
our friend. She was in a Bible study. My mom told me about this, and she said Dana had this policy where, and I've used this before, where if she gave her kid something and they didn't say thank you within 5 seconds, she took it back.
I remember that story.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I
Yeah.
have,
See, it's all coming back.
It's all coming
okay.
back,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
that
she-
deja vu.
We're
and-
reliving
well,
last
Or
year's
he's
show.
just reliving
what
it.
I do with my son is every morning we wake up and he wants a banana. That's always his first request.
Right.
Daddy, can I have a banana? And I'll give it to him, and then he'll take it, but I won't let go. And he'll know that I'm not letting go of this
And so it
banana
says, "Thank you,"
until
yeah.
you say thank you.
Not
Okay.
a bad
yeah.
idea.
And
Nice.
I know my trivia is the same thing. This is we might as well.
Wait. Is
we
it the
might as
Macy's
well-
Thanksgiving Day Parade floats?
What?
I feel like that we did that one year. May
Well,
not
so
have been
what
last
do you
year,
think
but
we
it
did
was-
last year?
I don't remember exactly, but I'm sure I'll remember when you start reading the
You
questions.
think so?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't remember
Give us a
exactly
hint.
what the questions were.
No, because then you'll start thinking about it. And I don't want you to be thinking during Back to the Father. Okay.
Wow, yeah, that's right. I'm not here to
It'll
think.
be
I'm
new to
just here
James
to-
because he wasn't here last year.
There you
okay.
go.
All right. So let me just mention this, and then we will get into some fun conversation here. Okay, is thankfulness a special virtue distinct from other virtues? Now, get a load of this. Okay, the cause of debt. Okay, of what is given to us is found primarily and chiefly in God. And he is the first principle of all our goods. Secondarily, it is found in our Father. But later, he also mentions the mother. So our parents are secondary as far as the cause of our goodness, right? Because they bring us life. Because they are the proximate principle of our begetting and upbringing. Thirdly, it is found in the person that excels in dignity, from whom general favors proceed. Fourthly, it is found in a benefactor from whom we have received particular and private favors, on account of which we are under particular obligation to him. So as Thomas is wont to do in the Summa, he has created a hierarchy. And he's saying all good comes from God. And then so we owe him ultimate thanks, right? Secondarily, we owe our parents thanks because they literally brought us into being. Now, one of the things I was talking about with Adrian this morning on Catholic Drive Time is thankfulness to bad parents. Now, I don't think any of us had horrible parents, but some people have terrible parents,
Yeah.
awful parents. And so, but I think Thomas would say you still owe a debt of gratitude to them, you know, and that's challenging because they gave you life. Right.
I wonder how Thomas would say that plays out. Like, is it a thankfulness where you acknowledge that you're thankful for them? Do they have to have like a really big part of your life? Like, I wonder what he would say for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if like every time they come around, they're like berating you and
right.
or,
if
that,
it's
or
not
like physically threatening
or
you
just
or
like
something.
it's not a good influence for your kids or whatever it may be. Then do you then kind of is it kind of not a?
So I think that what he would say is that in this hierarchy, let's just say, for example, I give William, a Christmas gift or something. All right. Well, his appreciation.
5 seconds, William, and you're losing it.
And then it goes to Sissel. All right.
Thank you.
There's that $100 Chick-fil-A gift card. You don't get to keep it. So let's say he doesn't say thank you. Mm-hmm. I think Thomas would say that that's on the low end of the hierarchy of thanks, because I'd be a benefactor. Although, I'm not really your boss, but, a supervisor, I guess, here. So I might qualify as excelling in dignity. I don't know. Maybe I bumped up one level. I don't know. But, but I'm certainly not your mom or dad, and I'm not God. Right. So, but that lack of gratitude would be ultimately a lack of gratitude towards God, right? Because you're not honoring the structure, right?
Yes.
So you have to do it at a low level because the low level is,
because there is a hierarchy.
Yeah, right. There's a hierarchy. And so ultimately you're giving thanks to God, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That makes sense.
The virtue of religion. Okay. Have you ever, you know about the virtue of religion, right?
The virtue of religion?
Yeah. Religion is a virtue. Okay. So he says, okay, it follows that after religion, whereby we pay God due worship, and piety, whereby we worship our parents. I love that. He puts the word worship. He doesn't mean that like you're adoring them. He means you're giving them honor. And observance, whereby we worship persons excelling in dignity. Each one of these has a different name. So observance is the respect and thanksgiving given to somebody who excels in dignity. Maybe like the president or the pope or your pastor or boss or something like that. And then thankfulness or gratitude, where we give thanks to our benefactor. So he's really only calling thankfulness and gratitude something at the lowest level. Mm-hmm. The other ones have a different name. So religion is the thanksgiving and worship and honor that we owe to God, right? So you think about it. I mentioned this on the radio this morning also. What % of Catholics go to Mass on Sunday?
Right.
I mean, 20%.
Yeah. I think during COVID it was 7% or something like that.
Sure.
It decreased a lot.
And it hasn't really gotten back to the pre-COVID levels. And the pre-COVID levels
we're
not
not
that
even good. Yeah.
And that's in America. I bet in Europe it's probably 5 or 10%.
Far worse. Those churches are a lot less filled.
So why? Okay, so here's the fundamental problem. People are not going to Mass. They're not practicing the virtue of religion, and that's really bad, because people, I don't think they've been taught that you go to Mass out of gratitude.
Yeah,
right?
or out of gratitude. I don't even think a lot of them even know that's like an obligation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, if they were grateful, they would be going, but like I don't even think, even just from the very thing of the fear of you're supposed to go, it's like a sin if you do not go. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people don't even recognize that.
Yeah. And, why is it a sin? They're like, it's not a sin. I don't have to go. But, I mean, how can 75, 80% or 90% of people in the country not feel like they can give God 1 hour? I mean, that's
it's
just
the problem.
that's crazy.
It's the problem in a country.
Bad.
It's no wonder your society is going to go down if you don't.
If I didn't go to Mass for not a good reason, I feel horrible. I just feel it's not like a weekend.
Right.
No, we haven't done something
I think
right.
I think it's interesting because one of the questions you asked in the original email that I got this morning was, can ingratitude ever be a mortal or serious sin? And I think that kind of ties into disobeying the third commandment, not going to church on Sunday. It kind of falls into you're being ungrateful, and yes, and it's not in every scenario it's a mortal sin, but in this scenario it definitely can be. I think all sins, even disobedience to your parents can be a mortal sin if you take it to the extreme. So definitely that's definitely an example.
And I would say disobedience probably would be a mortal sin if there is contempt involved. Yeah. Like you're asked to clean your room and you don't do it. That might be a venial sin. Right. But if you don't do it because you don't respect your parents, you hate your parents, you know, you have
Don't think you need to listen to them. You can
yeah,
just-
Right.
then it would bump up, you
That's-
know.
yeah.
But that whole line between venial and mortal, and you know,
just
when
confess
it,
everything, guys.
yeah,
and avoid all occasions of sin if
Yep.
possible.
yeah,
Just to be safe.
Yeah.
Amen, amen. All right, so is a man bound to give thanks to every benefactor? Okay. It says, Dionysius says that God turns all things to himself because he is the cause of all, for the effect must needs always be directed to the end of the agent. So this is kind of that same idea that everything we do, and Thomas definitely teaches this, is directed towards our final end. Okay, from turning off the alarm clock in the morning and having breakfast and the decisions you make. I don't think this is taught, where small decisions, small things that we do, are connected to our final end. I think if kids were taught that at a young age, then by the time they get older, I mean, they're not not going to mass. I
Right.
mean, because
Right.
they've been conditioned.
Right.
To be thankful, you know.
Right.
It is evident that a benefactor as such is a cause of the beneficiary. Isn't that interesting? So hence the natural order requires that he who has received a favor should, by repaying the favor, turn to his benefactor according to the mode of each. So again, there's this kind of hierarchy, and it's based on causality. Okay, do you have to return the favor at once? You said you thought you remembered that was the case, right?
I don't remember. Now I'm confused.
We should have Thanksgiving like every month. And
Yeah, then I can
we
remember,
remember. I
please.
mean, this is like way much.
I would never be healthy, but
long
yeah.
term. Yeah, but we talked about gluttony.
Yes.
Yeah,
remember?
that's-
Well,
yeah.
yes,
How quickly you
yes.
forget. Okay, because Seneca said, "He that wishes to repay too soon is an unwilling debtor, and an unwilling debtor is ungrateful." Okay.
Who is
So-
Seneca?
He was a
guy.
Roman philosopher, I think.
Okay,
either
okay.
Greek or Roman, but
Okay.
he's a philosopher.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you feel like I don't know, if you feel like this quick obligation, like you got to say thanks right away, then it's probably more obligatory than a sincere, kind of thankfulness. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
I guess I could see that. If it's almost like you're uncomfortable and you just
Yeah.
want it to, you don't want to have to owe something any longer.
I think another topic, and we actually had this conversation in my family recently, is some people do not allow other people to do things for which they would be thankful. There's a certain personality type that doesn't like anybody to help them.
I think it's
Okay?
because they don't want to be owing anybody anything.
Yeah,
They
but
wanna
that ties
that's-
into all
No,
this.
it does for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I know people like that. They just. I have a neighbor who just gives and gives and gives. She brings gifts over to my kids. She's just always giving. But if you turn around and say, hey, I would like to, treat you and your husband to dinner. No.
I wonder for her sake, maybe for her, it's like she doesn't want to make it into an exchange thing and she just wants to continue giving, which I'm not saying is right, but maybe in her mind, she's thinking, I don't want them to think that I'm doing this just for the sake of getting something in return,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
it's extreme. I'm not saying that she's right, but that could be where it's coming from
Yeah.
for her.
So the conversation that came up in our house is the men holding a door for a woman. And I do as often as I can, and but there's always that some women don't want that,
Right.
they don't want the and which guys are then in a bad situation because I want to do something nice, but they may not be grateful. In fact, it might turn against me. That they it's kind of a modern problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for
I think
sure.
you got to allow people to be kind.
Yeah.
Did you see Rogi's comment here about
Catholics
Thanksgiving?
have Thanksgiving every week and some every day. The Eucharist.
Yeah,
It's very
there
true.
you go.
There you go.
Eucharisto,
Very
that's
true.
what it means. Yeah. Okay.
Better than turkey.
Let's see. Should the repayment surpass the favor received? Thomas says yes. I don't know exactly how that works from a practical standpoint.
Yeah, because it gets, like I said, it gets very complicated when you come up with certain things. Like if
Yeah.
someone gives you a couch, do you give them a couch and a second, like a mini couch? Like,
yeah, they gave you a couch because
Right.
they don't want it.
right, right. That's the thing is too that sometimes people are being grateful and they genuinely do not want to.
Like,
you know.
when does this work? I mean, like, for the example, I give,
The only
William
thing
a
I think it
$100
could
gift
work on
certificate to
is
Chick-fil-A.
food. Is money. I think that's the most concrete way that you can. So, like, if someone gives you $1,000, you got to give them 1,001.
Yeah. And in most cases, when you give people a gift, it's because they need it.
Right.
And they're not able to turn around.
And that's why, and I think it's a pretty common thing amongst a lot of financial advisors, I think would tell you that if you're going to lend, quote unquote, lend money to someone, it's not lending. You should give it as a gift and not expect to ever see that money again because that's so damaging to relationships. But, you know. But then if it comes back at you, it comes back towards you, but like more, then do you have to give more back?
Yeah.
In Thanksgiving for the gift that you received? And
also you can't pay God back. I mean, how are you going to give God more than
That's why I think by paying
you know?
God back is just simply living the way he has asked us to. That's the closest thing you can get to on earth.
All right. Is ingratitude always a mortal sin? He talks about sometimes it's mere omission. For instance, failing to recognize the favor received or to express his appreciation of it or to pay something in return. Not always a mortal sin because sometimes it just skips your mind, you know. But it is a venial sin. But he says ingratitude is mortal if by reason of inward contempt or of the kind of thing withheld, this being needful, the benefactor, either simply. So I think I know we talked about this last year, is like, you know, you're not happy with your salary. You're not happy with your pay. So you get a paycheck and you're not even grateful that you get it. It actually causes you to have contempt for somebody or you know, I keep using this example of like Christmas gifts. I give James a $25 gift certificate for Christmas to Chick-fil-A. And he's like, what? I've been working here for like 9 months. I get a $25 gift certificate to Chick-fil-A, which it was a gift in the first place, right?
Yeah, so that you didn't have already.
Yeah, so that might border on
sure.
A greater sin, you know, that because, you know, it wasn't owed you in the first place. It was a gift,
so
right?
Right,
so
right.
That's ingratitude. Don't do that, James, okay? All right? I can't imagine James doing that. He's one of the most polite people I've ever met in my life. All right, so how do we instill gratitude in children, young people? How are we going to solve this problem?
And in an ungrateful society, that's a good question.
Yeah. Wait, and why would people be ungrateful if that always results in their unhappiness?
I mean,
maybe because we have too much, like you said. The wealthier nations
it helps a lot if you don't have much. It helps a lot.
Yeah.
It helps. You know, I think growing up, my parents were not wealthy by any means, and so my mom made every little thing that we did very exciting, even though it maybe didn't cost anything. And so I think we were always just so like, this is so awesome. Like, you know, what a treat it was. Like the rare occasion we would get like a McDonald's Happy Meal was like the most amazing thing ever. And so it was like super, thank you so much. You know, not saying I was the most grateful kid. I definitely had my very ungrateful moments, but you know, it's helpful when there's not a presence of a lot of things.
You ever looked like at a homeless guy and just said, you know, I don't want to be homeless, but there's a certain freedom there, you know, because most of us are, I mean, I'm always constantly, I don't want to lose my wallet. I don't want to lose my phone. I don't want to lose my keys. Is my car okay? Is my house in place? I gotta keep that job, got to keep the salary. And it's constantly, imagine just saying, I'm done with it all. Right. You know, I'm just
because it's constant worry.
Yeah, right? Yeah, constant worry. But then, not that the homeless people don't have a few things to worry about themselves, but how can you detach from things and you know, not make them own you?
I've always liked. I've seen it happen with the. I've heard stories of things like that. People who are just super. Well, you had the gentleman just give you his watch.
Yeah.
You commented on his watch and he just gave it, and it wasn't like
which I have now since given to Joseph Miller. And he hasn't returned. Yeah.
Well, he it wasn't yours in the first place. David. Like you have to be grateful. You weren't supposed to have
that's true.
But no, like the people who are very willing just to give whatever and not be so like, ooh, I have to hold on to this and hoard this, and I think that's a very, very freeing thing to be able to do.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I was listening to Jerry and Debbie's show the other day, and I think this is a little bit of a departure, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it, all right? Because I was talking about this with Kent as well. They had a show yesterday. The topic was kind of interesting, and I don't want to get into this on this show, but their topic was, are you a dog person or a cat person? Okay, interesting topic. But one thing that did come out of the show that I found very interesting is that Jerry was talking about how people these days are leaving inheritances to their pets, and sometimes in the millions of dollars. right?
Oh my.
What is the
And
pet going to do with said
That's-
millions of
Yeah.
dollars? Can I
Yeah.
ask?
And I'm thinking, okay, is there a tie into gratitude and ingratitude? I would say 99.9% of the time, somebody who does that is not doing it for the pet, but they're doing it against a person.
Probably.
You know, because there's
to spite
some
somebody. Yeah.
there's some kid of theirs who hasn't called them in 3 months, and
That's
by
real.
golly,
Yeah.
you know,
There's some broken relationship or
there's
something.
something there.
Yeah.
Because, but the irony though is that some human being's gonna have to manage it, right? And so
Right.
after you die,
Fluffy, what would you like? Would you like this type of food or this treat? Would you like to go to the puppy spa again today? Like,
how many of those milk bones would
Yeah.
you like? Fluffy is blowing up because he's got
Fluffy is
$82
not
million
long for this
worth of.
but no,
but I would say that's ultimate on ingratitude. I mean, to do something that's stupid, to leave millions of dollars to a pet, you're
That's pretty
doing
extreme.
it against somebody. you
yeah,
know?
at least give it to a charity or something.
Yeah.
You're not like, come on,
Yeah.
it'll still do the same effect. Not saying you should do it for that purpose, but also I do understand if you do have family members who are very, maybe not deserving of something like that. I can understand not leaving it to them, but still.
All right,
I digress.
so. Well, no, digressions are allowed in this show. Well, yeah, that's okay. I digressed.
Like, yeah,
and
it's just
eternal
true.
recurrence, that was a
Yes.
digression.
Yeah.
Kinda.
A 10-minute one,
Kinda,
yeah.
it was a big digression. At least you have short digressions,
Yeah,
right?
I do. I have short digressions. Actually, I'm going to digress again. Can I?
Okay,
May I?
yeah, and can you queue up past the Thanksgiving meal to the next one where you have that cityscape kind of picture? But
My quick little digression. I remember reading an article one time, or it was a story. I don't remember what it was. And to be completely honest, I'm not going to say that it was 100% a real story, or if it was just kind of like a. Let me just continue.
it's not even real. It's a fake story. I'm intrigued.
So basically, it was talking about a family that lived. I want to say it was in China, where Christianity is not something either that is allowed, and that they have to do everything in secret. So receiving the Eucharist, it's a Catholic family, was such a precious thing, right?
Yeah.
So it was such a rare thing and a precious thing. And then they got out, and they came to the States. And then the family, you know, they were so excited. Oh my goodness, we can receive the Eucharist every single day if we wanted to. And how beautiful and amazing that was. But over time, after being here in the States and just getting used to our culture, suddenly they started missing Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly they were hardly going at all. So that thing that was super, super precious to them, because it was so little that they could get it. And it was such they were willing to risk their lives over it.
yeah.
They come to the States and they got lax in it.
Yeah,
And it was really interesting.
So they lost that fervor.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
That's
was
hard.
talking
Yeah,
about the
that's-
gratefulness of it because
No,
like you're not.
I don't think that's a departure
No, see?
at all. So that's awesome.
I don't
All right,
know.
so I have this thing that I want to kind of put to an experiment, and
Oh, boy.
I think Sissel knows.
Do I need to
this.
sign a waiver?
No, I actually proposed a show on the GRN
Oh, that's right, you
called
did.
Momentous, right? And I have this thing, and this may be like a totally boneheaded idea, and I'm certainly willing to, but I want to kind of present the idea, okay? Because we are at least.
We are the test subjects.
This is a Guadalupe Radio Network, at least a social media score, okay? It's not a show. So Momentous is based on the quote from G.K. Chesterton, who said of Thomas Aquinas, do you know where I'm going with this?
Totally.
He said, for him, Thomas Aquinas, even the momentary was momentous. Okay, so I've thought about that a lot. So, okay, well, I think I know exactly what he means by that. But what he means by is that in a guy like Thomas Aquinas, who understands God very well and has written on him well and understands kind of the big picture of what's going on, right? He's able to kind of frame his life and see things in a way that I think most people are not able to see because he's looking at the very big picture, right? And able to see God's presence in every moment of his life. Okay, so this is something I've been giving a lot of thought, right? So I have a picture here, and I want you to, let's say you're there. This is actually, I think, like Japan. Can you see the picture here?
Yep.
Okay, so how if you're in a building and you're looking out at that scene, how could you make an immediate connection to God? Like what's what could you do and say, okay,
Well, the moment is gone. We have failed the test.
See, this is why this show is not on the air, okay?
No, hang on.
Okay, no, I know. There's
No, I was gonna say I was thinking because a lot of things came to my head honestly because it's personally, I love nature and I love the beauty of nature, but there's something that does make me stop and pause when I see a beautiful city lit up at night. I think it's a very beautiful artistic thing and I was thinking two things. One, there's the mountains in the background of this scene. So you think about the majestic mountains, but then in front of it, you see the city that was created, that there was no way that would be created without God providing everything that was needed in the minds of the people to be able to build all those things.
Exactly. Okay. So I mean, again, there's not a right or a
No,
wrong.
there's lots of
and
things
there's a
you
whole
can
lot
find
of
from
things,
that.
but I mean, it's funny. I didn't even notice the mountains in the background,
Oh,
but
really?
that's a direct connection. And so what you have is something artificial in the front, something that was created by the mind of man, right? And as you said, so you couldn't have done that if God didn't give us intellect, which is interesting though, because creatures that don't have intellect also create things. Ants build mounds and beavers build dams, and but they do it involuntarily, so it's kind of instilled in them that they can create beauty. And some of these things are pretty beautiful that they make, right?
That's the thing, is that we sometimes think of, we see God in nature and all those things, and that's absolutely true. But I think when you see something like that, you can all go, wow, God also made this beautiful landscape. Let's help make this. Yeah,
and I don't think there's any people in this picture. There will be in the next couple of pictures, but I teach 12th graders, right? So I teach students that are William's age, but I tell them, I said, do something. I says, you walk around and you see people, say to yourself every time you see a person, made to the image and likeness of God. Okay? And it gets a little monotonous if you're saying it every time, especially if you're walking around.
Hello, daughter of God. Hello, son of,
you don't say it out loud. You say it to yourself.
I mean, you could. Embrace the awkward.
No, you could. So, but imagine if everybody made that connection, that every single human being is made to the image and likeness of God. And when they saw a human being, they made to the image and likeness of God. Abortion's gone. Racism's gone. I mean, genocide's gone. Bullying is gone. Seriously, I mean, if people could make that connection, because they're immediately making a connection to something that is the closest thing other than the Blessed Sacrament that they're going to experience in their daily life, to God, right?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's closer to God. So anyways, there's no people in this picture. So why am I talking about people?
I don't know,
because
Dave.
in the next picture, there's a person.
Oh, hang on.
Okay.
There's a delay.
Actually,
bias time.
This is cool because in this picture,
there's a puppy.
Yeah. Oh, this is a great picture. Do you think that tree is alive or fake?
Well,
that makes a big difference.
I think it's alive because it's got some browning on some of its leaves.
Oh yeah, okay, but
So
they could fake that.
They could fake that 100%.
Yeah.
But I think that one, of course, I don't keep plants alive, so I probably should not be speaking.
Yeah, I had a pretty bad record as a kid of keeping pets alive. I had quite a few of them meet their end under my watch.
Oh dear.
But okay, so in this picture, you have a creature with a vegetative soul, you have a creature with a sensitive soul, and a creature with a rational soul.
And a very fantastic little coffee cup.
Yeah, and a little coffee cup, okay, for which she's nourishing that body.
That has no soul.
Okay, and she's looking down affectionately on the cat, on the dog. The dog is totally looking the other direction, not even looking back up at her. So,
nope, can't be bothered.
Okay, so this is cool because all the different levels of souls are represented there, and also a cool couch, and what else? Okay, so some artificial things as well. Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell if that tree is okay. So then the next picture, which I think is the last one here, an older couple, affectionate. You got the rolls and the apple and the water. Now water should remind you of baptism, right?
Yeah.
And why is baptism? Why, according to St. Thomas Aquinas, is water the matter of baptism? Why not, olive oil or?
Well, nothing else is gonna clean you.
Okay,
physically.
nothing else.
I mean,
okay. So there's a cleansing element, but,
Yeah, well, I was
oil,
gonna say-
like olive oil, it has a cleansing element to it.
Yeah, but and I know that's been used in to wash hair and things like that, but I still feel you'll feel oily. It's not good.
Yeah, but don't they do use oil for baptisms, right? Use the chrism oil because you always kind of stand up. The baby always ends up smelling really nice, right?
Right.
Okay.
True.
So Thomas says they use water for baptism because it's so plentiful. And because baptism is so
You could run out of Sprite. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
so necessary that, and it's also, I mean,
it's a good portion of the earth.
10,000 years ago, there was plenty of water. Today, there's plenty of water.
Right.
And it never changes, right? Mm-hmm. So, All right, so that's a little lesson in spirituality of awareness, and you could also say just existence itself. I mean, everything that we see in these pictures exists. That's God. I also like the one where if there's motion, if there's change, you can do things related to God through negation. Because if like obviously we've changed since we started the show. We've gotten older, and there's no change in God.
Speak for yourself. I've gotten younger personally.
You have gotten.
I've gotten younger. Yeah.
Okay, you've gotten. So, anyways, that's that. So, any other comments on gratitude, ingratitude, thankfulness? Adrian asked me this morning on the show. He said, "Dave, do you guys have a tradition at Thanksgiving where you go around
and say what you're thankful for?"
Everybody say what they're thankful for. Yeah.
Have you?
My Thanksgivings tend to be like pretty big, like 30 people or so.
So you're like, the turkey would be cold by the time you finish. Is that what you're saying?
Or you're already at maybe into December by the time.
We've never done that around the table, but growing up, we used to always, while watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, we would do thankful books. We would make thankful books that had turkeys on them.
The thankful books? What does that mean?
Basically, we would, it was an activity my mom had us do as kids that we did honestly well into our teen years too. But you would put together a book with like construction paper on each page. You would write or draw a picture of something you were thankful for.
Mm-hmm. All right, Sissel, you're not keeping up very well with the comments.
Scott
Rogie is just commenting away.
I was keeping up with them.
When you put the finger in the air, does that mean there's like a different level of?
Before we put all the blame on Sissel, I was having a hard time keeping up with getting them interjected because we would move on to the subject by the time I was trying to say them.
I see. Okay, so it's my fault.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Scott's like, I'm back from my meeting, and it's like,
Scott says,
don't worry, we've been ignoring you, Scott.
I said
Sissel is ignoring you. Okay.
It's fine.
Finger in the air. Put the finger in the air. Okay, I'm sorry.
This show just makes me look bad. It's a humbling show for me. That's what it was. They had a meeting at the GRN. They were like, let's have a show where we can
Sissel's head is too big. By
the way, Scott says that Scott commented, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but he said they do that thing at Thanksgiving just to make his adult children feel awkward.
Yeah.
Honestly, it is kind of funny. I do feel like I bet a lot of people, because if it's such a tradition in the family, they're always just like, can we get to the food already? Can we stop with this?
Random question, somewhat related. Have y'all seen the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series of movies?
No,
I've heard of it, but I've never read it.
Oh, you've never seen those?
No,
my sophomore in high school. Have you seen them, James? Actually, a Catholic guy wrote it.
Did he really?
Okay.
Yeah, he was on Raymond Arroyo's show one time. So,
really?
Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I actually like them. It's not the most intellectually stimulating thing in the world, but it's just like a kid, the awkwardness, like Sissel was talking about earlier. It's just an awkward, like middle school kid, and all the things that he goes through. And I think kids can relate to it because we all go through that awkward phase. But anyways, there was this one scene. This is very typical of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Okay, so the boy is with his friend, and he's off on like a little day trip with the friend's mom and dad. And the mom says, "Oh, we're gonna play this game where we spin this thing, and then if it lands on you, you have to look at the person across from you and say, 'I love you because.'" And so Greg, the main character, is just like, what? Like how awkward, right?
Yeah.
And so the father is just like this really kind of strong, silent, kind of guy. So as you would expect, it lands on Greg, and then the other one is pointing at the father.
And it's just like,
there's this like 10, 12-year-old kid that's got to look him in the eyes and say, "I love you."
Because something.
But that's gratitude. Yeah.
That's true. No, I think. Like Scott's saying, it is awkward, and that's fun. I prefer, I more often than not, my friends and I will get ourselves into these conversations where we start talking about what we're grateful for in a more organic way, but
yeah, not forced.
Not forced. I mean, one New Year's a few years ago, my best friends and my siblings and I, we all ended up after ringing in the new year, staying up for 3 hours, just talking about what we liked about, we appreciated about each other, and what were some of our like best elements, what are some of our flaws. But we like had a very deep discussion until like 3 a.m. People were crying. It was like a whole thing.
Good crying?
Good crying. Yeah, good crying. Just like very, very open discussion. Sorry, that was really random.
I remember Chris Nisi saying one time when he had an ugly cry.
Yeah, yes, an ugly
that?
cry. I don't have anything but ugly cries. I don't know what you're talking about.
So getting back to the game at Thanksgiving, this is somewhat related. That's are most of my comments. So we're
Is
like
Dave running the show?
So every now and then, like especially when my older daughter was living at the house, we would just kind of organically be sitting around the living room, and we just get into this great conversation, right? And it's just one of those moments as a father or a mother, you're just like, oh, I live for this, right? And so I would say to my kids, we need to do this more often. And they would say, Dad, you can't create this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And so I would say, okay, Sunday night at 6:00, everybody meet back here. And then that on Sunday night at 6:00, everybody's just kind of looking at each other.
Like, who's going to start this thing off?
Right.
Like, all right.
But so I guess the point is that when you're forcing everybody to go around the table, to Scott's point, it's awkward because it's forced.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. That's what I was
That's true.
getting
Yeah,
at.
no, I agree. I mean, and again, it can be fun. And sometimes when you do the forcing, you kind of laugh and get over the tension, and you get into a more comfortable space too.
Yeah.
Or you just stay up until 3 a.m. after you rung in the New Year's, when right before you all have been saying how tired you were. You also need to be sleep deprived sometimes for these conversations to happen.
True.
Ugly
It
cries.
helps. Get the ugly cries out, have this bowl of chocolate next to you.
I had ugly cry. William and I were actually talking about this before the show
You
started.
talking about your ugly cries?
Yeah, no, I didn't
Where
say
was I?
that, but no, dropping kids off at college.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when I dropped our daughter off at college, and we said goodbye, there was a mass, and we're driving back to our place, and
Not good.
ugly cry.
Not good. Oh gosh, it's horrible. Oh yeah.
Not
I have
good.
one of my very good friends was what we call a sympathetic crier. So if one person starts crying, she'll start crying out of sympathy because they're crying.
yeah.
To make them feel not so bad.
Just because she just can't. She sees someone crying, it's like it's very.
Is
funny.
there any movie that makes you ugly cry? And that, there's one movie, every time I see it, I ugly cry. And it's like, I know exactly what's going to happen. It's the only movie that every single time I watch. Do you know what it is?
Is it a Christmas movie?
And then we're not ending the show
is it,
until y'all
is it,
get.
is
Yes,
it
it
Christmas movie?
is.
Is it It's a Wonderful Life?
Yes.
That makes
Nailed
sense.
it.
Yeah. That last
That's
scene.
a fair one. It's a pretty
Yeah.
great one.
Yeah, you've seen that
I
movie,
think
right?
really-
I think I've seen everything except the last scene. Actually, I don't know. I think
What?
we started watching it last year, and then I think some of us left during the middle of it or whatever.
What?
I never actually
Intervention.
finished it,
Yeah.
but
Oh, really?
I've seen some of it. Yeah,
So.
You know, when it came out in the like the 40s, it did not
did
do
not
well. Did not do well.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Scott wants to know, what is an ugly cry? I think.
The first time I ever heard it was Chris Nisi.
Okay, so it is a common thing. I think it's more common for you to say nowadays, but I think it's the idea of when you look in movies, when someone's crying in like the movies, they look kind of pretty doing it. They
Yeah.
look like it's like one tear coming down the face, whereas when you're
Yeah.
crying, you're like. I think that's an ugly cry. Basically, a normal cry.
Yeah, it's a kind of cry.
It's not like a standing there in solitude and just like the tear. Your eyes aren't red. It's like no. It's like your nose is running. Your eyes are all red. Your
it's not.
We may have to end this show early.
It's not pretty. Okay.
We've gone way off the topic.
Okay. All right. So
I really hope that no one higher up in the jury is watching right now.
So the whole thing with Chris Nisi, he's one of our new sponsors. The first time I've ever heard the term ugly cry.
Yeah.
And he started this aviation school, right? And it's for training like aviation dispatchers, right? So he said that he was having a hard time at the beginning getting people to sign up as students, right? And he was struggling. And so one day he's listening to Catholic radio in the Mass, and when they had the elevation of Mass, he said, Lord, give me a student, please, please. And then they had the elevation of the precious blood. And he said, Lord, please, so you prayed. He said, I knew that there was power when you prayed during the elevation, during the consecration. So he made kind of note of when that was time-wise. So he gets back to his office, he opens up his computer, and at those 2 exact minutes, he got a student signing up. Wow. All right. So then he said, then I had to go off into another room and have an ugly cry. So he was so touched. Okay?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's really funny. And by the way, Scott says, I always pretty cry. Then I always pretty cry. If that's what how I described it, I guess. So I guess he just stands there and has a singular tear coming down his eye. And then also he says, I apologize for throwing the show off. And I told him it's not your fault. We were on the edge of losing it all show.
Yeah.
I think it was due to happen. Also, Paula on Facebook says that it's forced family fun.
Forced family. Oh, okay.
Forced family fun. I agree. And again, sometimes you have to do the force to break the tension to get into the natural.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people are just going to sit there and not do anything. Like that's why there's such thing as icebreakers. Icebreakers are very awkward usually. It's like throw your shoe into the ring, and if your shoe gets picked, you have to answer this question. Like it's so silly.
And everybody kind of like,
they're like, but then once you actually get it, then suddenly people start laughing at the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
So it works.
Yeah. All right. So,
when does become how to handle family, get family to talk and do things show? I don't know.
Maybe we get more viewers if we did that.
Actually, I will say our viewership has jumped up in the last few minutes.
Oh yeah, as we
going off on these tangents.
Yeah, going on the tangents. Okay, back to trivia.
Quit talking about that Summa stuff. Remember that? I mean,
also my laptop is very quickly dying.
Okay, all right. So here we go.
SOS.
Tell me if this is the trivia that we did last year, okay? And the reason,
we may not
remember I said something before the show started, I was like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. And I said, I can't tell you yet.
Yes.
Because Sissel started talking about how some people in other languages will take an English word and just kind of adapt it.
Is it Thanksgiving in different words? Is it thank you in different
did I do that
last year? We did this last year.
I know, because it seemed like, okay.
Because Manny played too, remember?
Eternal recurrence, okay?
Well, I guess it's just going to be who can remember the most.
Okay, so here we go with no further ado. And most of these, okay, so what is thank you in Spanish?
Gracias.
Yeah.
Gracias.
See, eternal recurrence is like Sissel beating William in trivia.
That's true. If that was what I had to relive over and over again, it would be okay.
I think Nietzsche's right. I mean, this just keeps happening over and over again. Okay, how about French?
Merci.
Very good. Okay.
Merci.
Okay.
I can only sound like an angry Frenchman.
Merci. How about Italian?
Grazie.
Wow. Sissel.
3 up
we might be getting toward the limit of what I know, though, pretty soon.
Yeah, we're getting through the main languages here, right? Mm-hmm. German?
Danke.
Danke.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm giving that.
Whoa.
I'm giving that one to James.
Just because you want me to be
mad. I'm
mad.
also going to give Italian to James, okay? Just because I can. Because now it's 2-2. Okay.
I'm just grateful to be here.
Dutch. My wife, if she's still
Dutch.
watching, she would know it. Okay. This
is it like no, that's Dankeschön. Thank you very much in German. No, that's thank you very much in German. Don't ignore me.
Okay, you're not going to get this.
Nope.
Certainly not with that attitude. You're not.
Nope.
Okay, bedankt. Okay, we'll give
that's
that one to James.
You just gave me something. Bedankt.
Okay,
it's a little harsh.
You're not going to get Portuguese. You're not going to get Russian. You're not going to get Arabic.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
I can do Korean.
Do you know? Okay, Korean.
Kamsamnida.
Really?
Wow.
Okay. I bet Manny would know that one. How about okay? I'll say the word and you try to guess the language.
Okay.
Toda.
Some Indonesian.
Toda.
Indonesian Indian.
Thank you very much. Is Toda Rabba?
It's got to be some Middle Eastern language.
That's what I'm thinking.
It is Middle Eastern, but it's not what you think.
It's not Arabic.
No. It's actually Hebrew.
Oh, Scott got that one. He said
did.
Hebrew. Yeah.
Oh,
he just
good.
Hebrew.
Okay, so Scott has 4, Sissel has 2, and James has 3. Sissel, I'm just giving you a hard time.
It's fine.
Okay, how about you? Should probably get this one just by the kind of the sound of it. Mahalo.
Oh, mahalo is isn't that Hawaiian?
Yes.
Yeah,
very
Hawaiian.
good.
I watch Hawaii Five-0. I know things.
How about okay, you're not gonna get that one.
Have a little faith in us,
okay,
Dave.
obrigado.
Obrigado. Oh, interesting. Not Russian. Why would
Interesting.
I say Russian?
This one has a different
obrigado.
word for different.
Why does that sound really familiar?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get it.
I don't. What is it?
Portuguese.
Oh, I almost said Portuguese because I said it sounds. I thought in my head it sounded Spanish.
Okay,
but
Sissel
that's-
gets half a point for almost saying.
Okay, you
it.
know what?
Okay.
You know what?
I
don't take pity points.
How about let's see.
I probably could do any. A lot of the Asian ones.
Sukran.
Sukran. Arabic. Is that Arabic?
Arabic.
Is it?
Wow.
I was just
You
about to
just
go
say
there.
it, yeah.
You got to go with it. Okay. Dizieki.
Sounds French.
Yeah. Is that
we've already-
Japanese?
we've
Is it Indonesian? Is it an Asian country?
Polish.
Oh.
Okay. How about Havala?
Havala. Oh, is that Indian? No, Havala. I've heard this before.
Okay,
Where is
let
it
me-
from? Is it Middle Eastern?
No. It's
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Eastern European.
Eastern European. Havala.
Croatia.
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 Okay.
Okay. Last two. Tak. T-A-K. Tak.
Oh, I've also
Tak.
literally seen this before.
Okay,
somewhere.
and now I'll give you a hint. It is the country where the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard is from.
The Netherlands? I don't remember where Kierkegaard was from.
Turkey?
Well, then that ain't going to help you very much,
No,
is
he
it?
was somewhere in
Danish.
Okay.
It's also okay, final one. I have a grandma who is 100% this. I'm a quarter this. My mom is half this.
Hey,
Can I say it
why
now?
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Irish.
No.
That's not
No?
his.
No.
No, he's
I know.
No, he's. I actually don't remember what you are.
I'm
to be
half
completely
Irish,
honest.
but
Okay.
okay,
okay.
no. Quitos.
Quitos. Something European.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it is.
Quitos Paisan is thanks a lot.
Parmesan.
Quitos.
That is. I don't
It's
know. Some country with French.
Scandinavia.
Oh, is it Sweden?
No.
Norway. You're not Norwegian. You're what? Wait. Oh,
Scandinavian.
Finnish.
Finish.
Yeah. Finnish.
Okay.
And
That's
now
a-
we're finished with the show.
Was there Japanese on there?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Isn't it?
Japanese.
It's. I think I would have gotten Japanese. Asian countries I can usually
Why
get
did I not have Japanese on here? Yeah.
Japanese or Chinese.
Chinese. Chinese is just like a symbol. I mean, you can't say a symbol.
They speak.
Well, they can.
I know, but
Mandarin.
yeah.
Like they speak, so they.
but they're.
You.
But what I would have on the reason I didn't do Chinese is because it was a symbol,
Hold
and
on.
I guess you could put it phonetically in English.
That's what I was gonna
but-
say.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on. No.
All right. Well, that was kind of fun.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember doing it last year, and I don't think I got any of them correct.
At least you got
Last
to
year
learn
either.
what eternal recurrence is, right?
Shishi.
Yes, exactly.
Shishi. That's in
Sh-
Chinese.
sh- Okay.
In Chinese.
All
Just
right.
saying.
All right. Well, thank you to Scott Rogie and to Paula and to
And John
Forrest.
Bruce is watching too.
Oh, is he?
And
okay.
Paula got some of them as well. But a little bit delayed on my end. so.
Oh, now Paula would have. Yeah, Paula definitely got.
Swedish is also for tak. That's where I think I saw because I was in Sweden last year and I saw that everywhere.
Oh yeah.
That's why I was like, oh, Sweden, and then
There's there's a
Shishi.
car place close to our house, and they have a welcome up. They have this big thing.
arigato is Japanese.
Arigato. Okay.
Sorry,
all
continue.
right.
Sorry, what were you saying?
No, they have the word welcome in all kinds of different
Yeah.
languages. And
That's helpful.
Kind of cool. Okay, that's going to do it. Thanks for the participation. I wonder, John Bruce, we should talk him into like everybody who comments on Back to the Father gets one of his cool pieces of
There you
woodworking.
go.
But then we'd have to like
Ship it.
mail it to him.
I think
yeah?
we should take it on the road and just trip it down. I think so.
Okay. All right. We'll put that into the suggestion box. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching.
Forrest said
and
it was a good show, which I'm very
participating.
grateful for.
All
Considering
right. Is that the first time anybody's ever commented and said that at the end of the show?
probably
Yeah. Well, that's
that's all it took was us losing it and
yeah.
and ugly crying on the show. James, you can go ahead and hit the
All right,
outro
James.
music. If you want,
All right.
please.
Thanks, everybody. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We will not have a show the next 2 weeks for Thanksgiving and also Share-a-thon. If you're anywhere, call in, donate, support the Guadalupe Radio Network, okay? God bless. I'm going to go have an ugly cry now.
Thanks for joining us for Back to the Father. And don't forget, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. If you have comments about the show, email Dave Palmer at grnonline.com.